During the last couple of years, I've sort of discovered that I like preparing for a trip as much as I do actually going on the trip, which is one of the reasons I have a lot of project bikes on the go all the time. And I suppose that's because of my background as a mechanic and I like just physically fiddling with things. But this is one of my latest projects. It's a project that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, actually. Uh, I've always been fascinated with the simplicity and hopefully reliability of a single speed bike. And I went on a cargo bike tour around Finland on a bullet cargo bike. And I actually had a Gates carbon drive set up on that bike. And I was really impressed with how it worked. So I've always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to make a single speed carbon drive bike uh, to maximize the reliability, make it nice and quiet, maintenance free, and hopefully the perfect bike for a around the world single speed trip. Now, last summer, I went up to Luleå to pick up this bike, and one of the reasons I got it was that it had a frame that was a split in the rear, so I could put a Gates carbon drive on it. It actually had a Gates carbon drive on it already, but it came with a Shimano 8-speed hub drive. And I had it in my mind right from the beginning that I wanted to convert it to a single speed and to finally make that bike a reality. Now, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get to go on a longer trip on this bike because there are so many things I want to do, and it looks like this summer I'll be spending most of my time cruising on a motorbike. But it's here. I'm actually going to put it up for sale. If someone buys it, well and good. If not, then hopefully I'll get to take it on a longer trip. But I just thought I'd run you through the setup and what I've done with it. As I said, when I picked it up, it had a 8-speed Shimano rear hub on it, and I've actually changed the wheels on the bike. I've put Hunt gravel wide wheels on it. At the moment, they are set up with tubes because I'm mainly just running around town. But if I was to take it out on a long trip around the world, say, I would definitely set them up tubeless. I've had these wheels set up tubeless before and they work quite well. Apart from that, I've actually kept the butterfly touring bar that was on the bike when I bought it. I've sort of always avoided these bars because I think they look, well, to be plain, I think they just look ugly. But after riding the bike last summer when I rode it home, or partially home before I ended up picking up a car, I sort of discovered that they really work on a touring bike. And on this sort of gravel setup, where I'm not going to go extremely off-road, I think they would be a nice handlebar with a lot of handle positions and reasonably comfortable. And I mean, they were already on the bike, so I've left that. I fitted my Tubus logo rear rack, a rack that I've used on several bikes. It's always been completely reliable, and I really love that rack. Nice solid rack. It fits well on the bike. I've got my gravel panniers, my Ortlieb gravel panniers. Again, they've already done like 20,000 kilometers or more, and they're actually excellent bike. You can see my review of those on the YouTube channel. And I've got my Brooks saddle on it at the moment. Probably won't sell it with the Brooks saddle. If I was to sell it, I'd keep this saddle. I mean, your saddle, if you get a saddle that works for you, you want to keep it. Apart from that, I have got the Ortlieb front panniers, and I've actually changed the fork on this bike. When I bought it, it had a Lauf carbon fiber off-road fork on it, and which was also one of the reasons I wanted to get the bike, because I've always wanted to try one of those forks. But the fork was actually too long for this bike, and the geometry was off, and it actually wobbled a little bit with that fork, partially due to the wrong geometry and partially due to the flexibility of that fork. The lateral flexibility of that fork is not super great. So I've actually removed that fork, and I've got that on another project, my off-road single speed project, which I'll probably do a video about that later on as well, and replace it with a carbon fiber fork with mounting positions for the Ortlieb fork packs. Again, I've used these before. I used them on my trip from Portugal. I know they work. I really like them. And on top of that, I have the Ortlieb handlebar bag, waterproof, nice, easy to use, easy to take off. And I've also got a cheaper phone mounted small bag on the front. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I already had lying about. I haven't really spent a lot of extra money. The only thing I had to buy was the front fork. And then I've been able to piece together everything else from all my other equipment. I think from my experience traveling so far, and I mean, I've done, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 kilometers of bicycle touring by this stage, and a lot of it on gravel roads and off-road. I think this would suit me just perfectly. I've also fitted larger bottle holders so I can put 2-litre PET bottles in there, which is something I find really, really handy. A nice way to carry a lot of water, easy to get bottles, and you can buy one with a bit of a flavoured on it sometimes if you get tired of just carrying water. There's plenty of room to put extra bag here if I want extra food, or if I want to have my sleeping bags or something like that here. I think this setup has got more than enough carrying capacity for me to be out and about and traveling for, oh, I don't know, at least, as long as I like, basically. I really didn't have any more room for anything when I was doing the Portugal to Sweden European bikepacking trail, and I think this would work out perfectly. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I would like to really be able to take it on a longer trip, but you know, I have to prioritize my time. Don't have enough money to be off work all the time, so I have to work, and I have to combine that with traveling on the bikes and doing different things. And at the moment, I'm just feel like going for a long motorcycle trip, going back to my older roots. The other thing this has that I normally don't have on one of my bikes is it actually has mud guards. Now, it already had mud guards on it when I got it, and they were quite handy when I was traveling through the rain going down for Sweden, so I've left them on. They offer quite a large amount of clearance, so they might work out well even if I was to go through a bit of mud. But I think that if I was to take this up on a proper round the world trip, I'd probably just take the mud guards off and continue without them, just to get more clearance and make everything a little bit simpler. But there it is. Not sure if it's going to be sold before I get to use it properly, or if I'm going to be able to take it on a trip, maybe even this summer, sneak it in between some of the motorcycle trips, but we'll see. One thing I might add, when I finished building it, I was never really building it with the idea of it being a light bike, but surprisingly, even with the fenders and the rack and everything on, but none of the bags on, it actually weighed in at just over 11 kilos, which is extremely light for this sort of bike. So hopefully a reliable, lightweight, single speed bike that can take you anywhere.